Hey, welcome to the video. In this one, I want to break down a growth plan for high ticket service businesses who are spending over $10,000 a month on meta ads. If you're new here, my name's Hugh. I've been running ads for about 10 years now in the online space. I've worked with close to 1,000 different businesses and spent millions of dollars and generated close to $40 million for clients. And right now, my business actively works with a couple dozen businesses where we're spending anywhere from five all the way up to $50,000 a month per client. And so we managed a lot of ad spend over the years, and I wanted to put this plan together. If you're running a business right now where you are spending a lot of money on ads, you're probably experiencing some frustrations and some issues that are stopping you from growing. So right now, if you are spending 10K a month or more on ads, one or possibly multiple of these issues are holding you back from actually scaling your business and doubling your revenue. High lead costs, meaning you're spending an uncomfortable amount of money with inconsistent returns. Low quality calls that often no show or just aren't a fit for your offer, which means your sales team are unhappy, they're unmotivated, and maybe even quitting as they need to be selling to get their commissions. And so if they're not happy at your organization, then they're going to look elsewhere if they're half decent. Your overall margins are lower than you want them to be, meaning you're taking on a lot of stress and not seeing the rewards when it comes to actually paying yourself as the business owner. You're taking on a lot of responsibility and then you're left with barely anything at the end of the day. And your current team isn't competent enough to be leading on your marketing, meaning you're coming up with the ideas, you're having to lead them all the time, and you're already busy spinning loads of plates, right? You've probably got a B or C player marketer in your team, and you need an A player. You need somebody who's actually coming up with the ideas, who's constantly learning, who's adapting to the market, who knows what they're doing, who's able to lead on these strategies and also oversee executing these strategies as well. Chances are you've hired somebody who's, not that great, or you've worked with an agency and they've just given you some low-level media buyer who doesn't really know what they're doing. We see this all the time. And ultimately, that means that your client acquisition is being held back and you're more focused right now on fixing things as opposed to growing. So the common bottlenecks when scaling ad spend that we've seen is, first of all, is lead quality issues. This is the number one issue when you're spending a lot of money. Your targeting maybe is too broad, your messaging maybe is too generic, you've probably got some misaligned offers. So from the ad to the funnel and everything else, it's just not congruent. There's like misalignment in the messaging there. Maybe you're experiencing ad fatigue. So this is a common thing. We just took on a client who was doing this where they're spending over 10K a month and they just had one ad creative. So they had a super high frequency on their ad and they were experiencing creative fatigue, and meaning they needed to rotate a lot more creative. So the first thing we did is we got a ton of new creatives out across some different targeting, and within a week we doubled their qualified calls booked. And ultimately this leads to poor conversions, right? If you're getting low quality leads, then on the back end you're not getting the conversions you want because either they're not showing up to the calls, or when they do show up to the calls, they're interested, but they're just not the fit and they can't afford it, right? Especially if you have an offer that's 10, 20, some of our clients even have $50,000 offers for what they're selling. It's just not going to work if you're attracting low quality people. So poor messaging and positioning, this is really, really important and is often overlooked. Chances are right now, either you or somebody in your team has just used ChatGPT to create some basic ad copy. Maybe you've seen some competitors in the space and you've tried to kind of replicate what they're doing, but it's very bland. It's very kind of what we call like Me Too messaging. So not addressing emotional drivers, and it's confusing, right? The offers don't actually meet the demand of the high caliber clients that you're trying to attract. Chances are your offer, your messaging, your positioning in the market is attracting those low level people, and meaning like it's solving a low level problem, not a high level problem. If you want to attract premium buyers through your ads, like you need to be positioning your offer in a way that only makes sense to high level people and doesn't make sense to people that don't have money. That's also going to help you differentiate your business as well. Chances are you have a lot of competitors in your space, and I see this in a lot of different industries, they're all in a race to the bottom, right? They're all competing with each other, but they're all competing for the bottom part of the market, which, although it does make up a bigger portion of most markets, that top where people actually have the money to invest, very few people are marketing to them effectively. So if you do that right, then you can dominate your space easily. Next is the sales process bottleneck. So poor call booking, weak sales conversations, low show-up rates, and a lack of structured enrollment processes. What I mean by this is if right now you just have like one or two automations that go out when somebody books a call and you're just going to hope they turn up, then you're probably going to have a very low show-up rate and people are not going to be pre-qualified or warm coming into the call. I still see a lot of business owners running basic lead formats. They're not even using landing pages, which is where you can build a lot of depth. They're not using video sales letters, which I'm going to go into shortly. But if you're a business right now where you're just running a lead form ad, somebody just autofills their name, number, and email, and then it's like, thank you, or click here to book a call. There's no context building, there's no trust building, and there's just very little in place to make sure you're maximizing those leads coming through. What's also going to happen if you're not asking pre-qualifying questions, which very few people do, is Facebook or Instagram or Meta in general is going to optimize your ads for the cheapest possible leads, which in most markets means it's sending it to people from low social economic backgrounds that don't actually have the funds to invest in your offer. It's not that we want expensive leads, but we do want to have some friction in the funnel. So we want to ask some questions that pre-qualify people before they're classed as a lead from Meta, meaning all the data that Meta is getting is saying, hey, this is what a lead looks like. And it's somebody that's ticked a box to say, yeah, I make this amount of money, or I'm in this demographic, or, I'm a business owner, or I'm this, I'm that, right? We want to pre-qualify people before they even can't become a lead. And that's going to really help optimize all of your marketing and especially the sales process down the line. So that's on the marketing side. But even when somebody's booking a call, you want to make sure you have some pre-qualifications and disqualify people that aren't a fit. Because if your sales team are just taking calls for the sake of it and they're getting loads of broke people, then they're going to be demoralized and it's just not good for your salespeople. So you want to make sure that you have qualifications in the marketing, but you also have qualifications in the sales side as well. We also want to be maximizing touch points before the call. So again, if you're just relying on like the automated one or two messages that get sent out from your call booking software, that's not good enough. You need to be hitting people with content, with email, with SMS, potentially WhatsApp if you're in a country that uses WhatsApp. All these touch points, even having somebody dial the number. If you have somebody on your team to do this, you can ring people up and just like make sure they're touching base. And I actually had this experience recently where I was going to the chiropractor and I'd filled out an initial form. I'd seen an ad online and I knew that I wanted to book in. I filled it out and I was busy and I was just kind of driving around. I was doing, kind of life admin stuff and I'd forgotten about it. And somebody from their team rang me up and just say, hey, we just saw that you'd filled out a form. You wanted to come in. Can we just confirm that you're able to come in at this time? And I was like, oh, yeah, shit, I forgot about that. I'll book it into my diary. And then I turned up and I became a client, right? So that can be a really, really simple but effective process to increase the sales process. And then back-end follow-up. So a lot of marketing you see is either direct response or it's like the Alex Hormozy kind of brand building style of content. And the problem with that is it's like it doesn't have to be both. What I like to do is use content, use nurture, use follow-up, use email, all of these things on the back end. Because if you're just relying for somebody to come through your funnel, book a call straight away, and then if they don't, they're lost forever, then you're literally just burning ad spend. And so if you have a nurture process in place, knowing that some people are going to book on day 1, some people are going to book on day 30, some people are going to book 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the line, but because you're there, you're staying relevant, you're staying in the market, then they're going to come to you when it's time for them to solve the problem that your business helps them with. This is also how you're going to get a higher conversion rate on your leads. Most people, they're not converting 80, 90, sometimes even like 95% of the leads that come in. This is going to help you squeeze 10, 20, 30% extra out of the leads that you're already paying for. So I want to go into what we call the modern high ticket service funnel map. So this basically is just an overview of the systems that are going to help you optimize every step of the journey from somebody not knowing who you are to becoming a client, or going from cold to sold. So first of all is cold traffic ads. You want to have a clear audience call out. So who is it that you're actually trying to reach? This is good for 2 reasons. One is good for Meta. If you actually have demographics or you actually have things you're speaking to in the ad, Meta's AI picks up on that and it helps the ad performance. But then on the flip side, just psychologically, if somebody's scrolling through and you're like speaking to mums, for example, and you're a mum, you're like, oh, that's me. Or if you're a mum in a local area, or, if you're an entrepreneur, if you run a certain type of business, like whatever it is, then you can call them out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a demographic. Like, it doesn't have to be like, hey, are you a mum who's 35? Like, it can be a behavior as well. It's like, do you drive a high-end SUV and you're experiencing these issues, right? It can be a behavior and to do with their, day-to-day life as well. We can use emotional hooks and social proof as well. So, if for example, it's a really frustrating, painful problem that you're solving for somebody, you can talk about that in the ad. If you're experiencing back pain, heartbreak, like all of these things that are emotional for somebody, we can talk about that in the ad. And then social proof, right? We help this person, we help that person, we help that person, right? Who was, again, the audience struggling with this problem, relating it back to them. And what we want to do is use direct to application ads, short VSLs, or lead magnets to warm up cold audiences. So this is going to vary from person to person. Most of the time, we use VSL funnels or lead magnet funnels with our clients. And basically, the way we kind of differentiate this is like how competitive your niche is. So if you're in a hyper competitive niche, we generally find using a lead magnet and a slight nurture process better than a direct VSL. However, like 80% of our clients right now are using VSL funnels. Like they still work. People will tell you they don't work. It's because they don't do them properly. Like most people slap together a VSL, they don't have any of this stuff in place and it doesn't work. When you do a VSL funnel properly, it works really, really well. And if you're not sure what VSL means, it basically means video sales letter. It's a video presentation on a page that breaks down how you help people, breaks down your offer, pre-sells them and warms them up. And it also disqualifies the wrong people before sending them to an application process. And we host that on a landing page. So as I said before, if you're running lead forms, it is a bit limited for two reasons. One, you're limited on data because it only, when you're tracking data on Meta and you're using custom audiences, lead forms only track 90 days of data, whereas a landing page conversion will track up to 180 days. So when you're creating lookalike audiences or you're using retargeting, you basically just have a wider pool of data to work with over time, which is really useful for optimizing your ads down the line. The second thing with using a landing page versus a lead form, if you use a lead form, someone submits their data, they have to manually click to go to the next page if you want to send them to a video sales letter. Whereas if you use a landing page and you have an opt-in, they fill it out, it automatically goes to the next page where the video sales letter is. Now that might seem kind of small and trivial, but actually that makes a huge difference because 50, 60, 70% of people are not going to click that next button on a lead form, and means you're just going to burn through and expect for people to, open their emails, respond to SMS to then book a call, as opposed to going and taking the next step themselves automatically. So having a landing page to host that stuff is really, really important. Post opt-in nurture, again, we talked about this previously, but this is really, really important. Like when somebody books a call, we want to make sure that there is immediate confirmation. There is pre-framed content, which can be case studies, expectations of the call, so what you're going to go through on the call. And I like to do this in a way that is value perceived, meaning it's not a call where you're just coming on, I'm going to pitch you. It's you're showing up to this call and we're going to help you with X, Y, and Z, right? Like it's not just a hard pitch sales call. And if that's how you're running your sales calls right now, then that is definitely something that I would be addressing, because that's going to lead into the next point. You want to be consultative with your sales calls, meaning, if you go to the doctor and you sit down, they don't just say, hey, you need to buy this medicine, right? Like with no context. They're going to sit down, they're going to go through, if they're decent anyway, they're going to go through your history. Maybe they're going to do some tests, and then maybe they're going to recommend some things for you. It's the same thing with a sales call. You want to sit down, you want to ask them questions, you want to find out what the problem is, like what's the current situation they're in, what problems do they have, what are the steps they've tried to take already to solve those problems. Then you can make recommendations. And if your service or product solves those problems and hits those recommendations, then you can say, look, this is what we do and how we can do this, right? Obviously, you don't want to try and sell them on something that isn't going to solve their problems. But if you've done your marketing right, the people on those calls should have the problem you solve anyway. And the solution should make sense for them. Part of this as well is we want to make sure that we're retargeting. We want to make sure we're hitting them with content. And we do this in 2 ways, or 3 ways actually. The first is as soon as they've booked a call, and this is so simple, but so few people do this. When somebody books a call, we want to automatically send them to a next page with steps. Step 1, make sure you have checked your emails and you have saved this in your calendar. That's huge. It's so simple, but often overlooked. Number 2 is a process video. So this is a video, or it can be written, but I think video is more powerful, breaking down the process that you follow as a business, like how you, like the tangible. This isn't like a marketing sales video. This is like a technical breakdown of what you actually do when you work with somebody. So it sets some of the expectations up front. And number 3 is case studies, any relevant case studies put below. And you can just put that all on one page to send somebody as soon as they have booked the call, like automatically get redirected to that page. Is going to be super useful. Then on the back end, you can send them ongoing SMS, WhatsApp again, if that's relevant, email, and you can hit them with multiple emails before they show up for the call. Like if you just send them 1 or 2 emails and expect them to go through it, they're going to miss it. Like you want to hit them with a lot of different emails, a lot of texts, and then that's going to really help like just increase the chances of them consuming some of that content before the call. Another thing I like to do, which I didn't mention here, is FAQs and objections. So if there are common questions that come up on the sales call, you can just handle that up front, right? Like you don't necessarily have to wait for them to be on the call to answer that, because really that call shouldn't just be them asking loads of questions. A lot of their questions around at least like the process side should be covered before they even get on the call. Then next is the follow-up system. So again, not everybody's going to book a call. In fact, the vast majority of people are not going to book a call, but you've got a load of leads that are the right fit and they're qualified and they just need nurturing, because maybe they were sort of interested, but now isn't the right time. Maybe, they're looking at some other competitors. Maybe there's just a few things going on in their life. Maybe they know it's going to be a big investment and they're like, I'm going to hold off just for a little bit until the timing's right. Or maybe they just got busy. So that's where follow-up comes in. And that's like, retargeting is really, really simple. Again, most businesses are not doing retargeting. Pretty much every single client we take on when they're running ads aren't running retargeting. So as soon as somebody becomes a lead, you can hit somebody with retargeting. It's super, super cheap, but testimonials, like hit them with testimonials, FAQs, direct call to action ads that take them back to the call booking page. Like all of this stuff can be used at a fraction of your ad spend. Like this is 5-10% of your ad spend on retargeting if you're spending over 10K a month. Like you don't need to spend huge amounts to get this working, but it does make a big difference on the back end. Next is just ongoing content, right? So if you're marketing on Meta, then people are going to see your content on Instagram and on Facebook. So you want to be posting regular content there. If you're getting opt-ins, you're getting them on your email list. Email is really, really powerful. And again, very few businesses are utilizing email very well, but you want to be sending 2 or 3 emails minimum a week. And these can be nurture emails where you're sharing insights. I like to kind of do 3 things. So either just give insights in the email itself. If I've done a YouTube video like this, I will send it to my list, or direct offer emails. So by the way, if you are XYZ and you want help doing this, click here and check out our offer. And I send people back to my video sales letter page. And so if you're doing that like minimum 3 times a week, that's going to be really useful. And if you are doing long form content on YouTube or even written, or you have a podcast, those are really powerful for re-engagement. You are also going to get the benefit over time of getting organic reach from that as well, which just helps increase like warm traffic to these funnels. But, ultimately it's just a way to nurture and keep people in your, what we call like your ecosystem. So it's not, once somebody's opted in, it's not necessarily a linear funnel in the traditional sense. It's like people are going through loads of different pieces of content. Sometimes people might watch loads of your content before they finally reach out and book a call. Sometimes it's just the right video or the right piece of content or the right email at the right time when somebody's experiencing that problem and they're like, oh, actually, I do need to speak to somebody about this. I do need to get help with this. I'm going to click that link and book a call. So what does this look like in action? If we put together a 30-day plan to double your qualified leads, then we can break this down to 4 weeks. Week 1 and week 2, we're going to first of all audit and make rapid improvements. So first of all, what we want to do is want to fix the biggest leaks before we scale. So we don't want to, anytime I take on a client that's spending a good amount of money, I don't increase the ad spend when we start. most of the time we don't decrease it either. We just optimize what they have. So we want to audit their KPIs across each funnel stage. So from the ad to, if they've got the landing page and the back end, we just kind of want to see where some of the gaps are. 9 times out of 10, like their ads are really inefficient, and that's something we turn around very fast. But we want to identify and fix some of those weakest links. We want to update the creatives. Again, most people are not running enough creatives, so we'll create some new creatives. We're testing a lot of AI stuff at the moment, which is really, really useful because it just allows us to output a lot more without clients needing to go and film stuff. So we use a combination of like infographics, what's called like B-roll videos. So it's just, a 7-second video, a text overlay, and then also, as I said, we're using like AI content, which I'll do another video on this channel. And that's working really well. We might update the landing page headline if they're a lot of the time they've just written it themselves. The copy isn't very strong, so we look at their market research. We look at their competitors, but we also look at what people are saying to them when they're signing up. Like, why are clients coming on and working with you? And using case studies, using client results, and making that the headline. That's super, super useful. Week 2 and week 1, making these small changes on the ads and the headline makes a huge difference. Like, as I said, we had a client who just came on. We doubled their bookings in the first week just doing this. Week 2 is where we're looking at the volume on the front end. So, we might start increasing ad spend on best performers. So this isn't overall ad spend, because at this point we're probably turning off a lot of the stuff that was running previously, that's inefficient compared to the new stuff we've set up. But then what we're doing is we're increasing the ad spend on the best performing ads 30 to 40%. And when I say best performing, this is really important as well. We're not just looking at the cost per lead, but we're tracking it to the cost per call, because most people and most marketers are making decisions on just one piece of data. They're looking at the front end and saying, okay, this ad is bringing in the cheapest leads. Let's just spend more money here. And that's not good. Like, that is not what's going to get you the end result, which is qualified calls booked. And so we track it back to the calls booked. Again, because we've got qualification questions in place, we know those calls being booked are, 9 times out of 10, they're qualified leads. Sometimes people slip through because they lie in the forms and stuff, but most of the time people coming through are good fit. So we can see in the ad itself which one is bringing in, those calls, and we can optimize based on that. And then what we might do is launch a 60-second pre-frame video after opt-in. So they might, again, some people have this already, but if not, this is something we definitely plug in. So this is like the qualification, or not qualification, this is the expectations after somebody's opted in. So just looking at all of that, making sure we have the SMS email reminders set up if they don't have those already. And then we can start looking at, some of the back-end stuff as well. Week 3 is like mid-funnel nurture optimization. So this is where we're looking at the pre-call value, the automated nurture emails, and retargeting campaigns. Like, sometimes we get the retargeting set up a bit sooner as well, depending on if they have those resources in place. But pulling together testimonials, a combination of screenshots, video testimonials are good. What I try and do at the moment is do like a bit of a carousel where it's like an image with like the result, then the video on the next slide, just because sometimes when clients do testimonials, they're not very engaging and it's just somebody rambling on for 5 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll pre-frame it in like one like infographic slide of like what the client achieved in as short as words as possible. So if worst case, if somebody just sees that, it's staying top of mind. Week 4 is looking at refining more the sales side. So we're looking at kind of like the objection handling. We're looking at kind of what's coming up for the sales team now that we've readjusted stuff. And then that's feeding back into the ads. And then from there, we look at scaling winners gradually. So this is going to be dependent on the business, their capacity with sales and clients and everything else as well. But the goal should be, once everything's working and you're really getting the most out of your advertising, is to scale it, is to keep increasing it. And that might be, you're increasing spend by like 10%, 20% every week or every month, but it wants to be gradually going up, because if you're trying to grow your business, then you're only going to be able to squeeze so much out of the spend you have. Like, over time, you just need to spend more because there's just going to give you more in returns. But by this stage, everything is optimal. Your sales team are happy, and then this is a really good place to be to start scaling ads from there. Just going into like the email SMS flow as well, like this is kind of what we want to have in place. I know a lot of people just don't have, they basically just have like the automated email and automated SMS reminders, but we want to have a confirmation immediately with email and SMS. We want to confirm their booking. This is super important. So SMS, hey, reply and just let me know you've got the links. We can see if it's sent them a Google calendar invite, if they've accepted it. We can send them an email as well and just like asking them to reply just to make sure they've done it. Like just having that manual SMS or email reply saying, yes, I have, just is just another step for them to take to kind of confirm that they're going to show up, right? We want to make sure that we have the value delivery in place, right? We're using case studies, we're using sending them resources that are valuable, that are breaking down kind of how you help people and around your processes. We're setting expectations around we're setting expectations around the service and what your service actually does to help people. And then, 24-hour, 1 hour reminders. These are super important as well. We don't want to just send them one reminder straight after they opt in. We want to be hitting them multiple times with reminders and setting the tone for the call. And then in terms of the retargeting sequence, this is something that can be useful as well. So we can have an ad outside of the case studies, which are pretty standard across businesses. Ad one is like problem agitation. So remind prospects of the pain points your service solves, creating urgency around the cost of inaction. So what are they experiencing now? And what is not solving that problem going to do for them, right? So you're just kind of pushing the pain points. Case study proof, we've talked about objection handling. So this is where you want to, touch base with your sales team and talk to them, like what objections are coming up on sales calls. Like obviously money can be one, but like outside of money, it's like what objections are coming up. Like maybe it's around time, maybe it's around location, depending on your offer, this is going to be different, but you want to tackle those objections head on. And that video might be even a talking head video, or it could be like an image or a B-roll video with text overlay. But basically, it just wants to have the question that people say, or a statement of like, what if I don't have enough time, etc. Authority building, so showcase your expertise, methodology, or unique approach that differentiates you. So this is where like individual videos breaking down kind of what you do in more depth, that can just allow somebody to see you as an expert. That really helps. And then you can do kind of more limited opportunities as well. I'm not as big a fan on these because sometimes they're a little bit fake, but if there is genuine scarcity, like for my business, we only take on one new client a week because we have like quite a heavy onboarding process. So that's genuine scarcity. But if you don't have that and it's like, well, realistically, you can just work with as many people as you want, then I wouldn't include that. Like, I don't think that is necessary. And yeah, hopefully you found this video useful. If you want a full marketing audit to see what's holding you back from doubling your revenue in the next 30 to 90 days, you're spending over 10K a month on ads, then we can dive into every step of your funnel, diagnose where the bottlenecks are, and help create a custom plan to fix them as fast and effectively as possible. Just click the link below and apply to book a call. And yeah, hopefully you found this video useful. I'm going to be testing out this style a bit more with these pages. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different from the ones I normally do. And if you are new here, then hit subscribe because I really appreciate that. I'm trying to grow this channel a bit more aggressively now, but I will see you in the next one.